These are the opening words to Stephen King's legendary novel, Misery. The story of Misery plays on fears every single living creature can identify with, being vulnerable. A story so rich with palpable terror that has carried on through book, film, and even theater. On this episode, we're going to break down Rob Reiner's 1990 take on King's legendary story. The majority of the film is just focused around our two main characters. James Caan plays the role of Paul Sheldon, the writer who becomes injured in a car accident and unbeknownst to him becomes under the care of his #1 fan, Annie Wilkes, portrayed by the amazing Kathy Bates. The tension created by these two on screen is magnetic. So magnetic that Kathy won an Oscar for Best Actress, which makes that the only Stephen King adaptation to win an Academy Award. Not enough can be said about this movie, so we're going to do our best to give it some justice. I'm really excited to have you guys here with us for this one, so wherever you're at in this world, go ahead and kick your feet up and we promise we won't break them. Here is our take on Misery. Boom! Welcome to the Sloppy Horror Podcast. I am your host and your scary movie companion, Christian Ramey, and back again for another week, clapping them cheeks, the best producer in the world. You know him as Ozark Mark. Ozark Mark, what's going on, buddy?
Hey there, hi there, ho 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 there. I'm in there like swimwear, and I'm here with you once again here. I know that you're very excited, because this should be a very exciting episode, Christian Ramey, because we are going in deep with another classic here.
Loves company.
By Stephen King himself.
Yep, that's right. Misery. It's the movie of the day, folks. Not only, I don't know where you live. You might be in a tropical paradise right now, and if you are, fuck you, because I'm jealous. But if you are not, if you are an individual who is dealing with the cold winter like we are, Misery is a perfect movie. And folks, there's movies for different times of the year. You're not watching Jaws in January, and you're not watching Misery in July. So that's why we have to cover this. Like Mark said, this is Stephen King. We've got Rob Reiner. We got James Caan, Kathy Bates. I mean, that's really a lot of legendary names that I just named. And like, if you were to name each of their names individually, you wouldn't necessarily go to Misery first. And that's what makes it incredible. Like, maybe Kathy Bates, you would think Misery right away, but no, she's been in everything, dude.
It's not Kathy Bates, of course, legend herself, but there's always, whenever you have a legendary actor like that, there's always one movie that will stick in your brain forever.
Mm-hmm. Shit, she did great in Titanic, bro.
You know what I'm saying? Like, even that, but unfortunately, I always think of the devil from The Waterboy. For some reason.
Bobby Boucher?
Yeah. Why?
I didn't even put that together. Exactly.
It's the dumbest movie ever, but that's what sticks for me for Kathy Bates. So I'm just,
Point in case, man. That's crazy.
When I was watching this, I was just waiting for her to say, the devil. But she didn't.
Boy. Dude, that is crazy, man. You are exactly right. And that's even like the proof is in the pudding. If you say James Caan, most people would say either Buddy the Elf's dad, or they would say Godfather. And that's the right answer. Godfather is the right answer.
Yeah.
If you say the Elf, I'm assuming you're under the age of 30. If you're saying above, I'm assuming Godfather.
I have a different answer for that. I always liked him in Enemy at the Gates.
Oh, shit, bro.
That's a very underrated movie.
It is an underrated movie.
It's a great movie. He plays an awesome Nazi sniper. Badass. Mm-hmm. Cool as a cucumber in that. I love his acting. And I think he plays this well, too. I can't tell you how relatable his attitude is when he realizes that he's just stuck there.
Bro, I can't wait to get into this because you, as a husband, as somebody like you, like there's an underlying, like, you get it. All right. I guess we need to give these fuckers a synopsis, Mark. They need to know what this movie is, I guess.
Well, it's pretty much 42 some odd episodes in now. It's a tradition. You got to start with the synopsis.
That's right. Mm-hmm. So, obviously, this is a book that was it's an adaptation of a book from Rob Reiner. Rob Reiner directed it. Stephen King wrote the story. The story is pretty straight-laced. First off, in any Stephen King book, he always has to include an author into his stories. That's the way. That's just the stamp of his trade, which makes sense.
Never gets old to me.
No, it really doesn't. So there's a writer. His name is Paul Sheldon. Paul Sheldon is a legend romance writer. and he is writing a new book, and every time he writes a book, he goes to this little secluded cabin, and he drinks like a Dom Perignon, a big bottle, and then he'll smoke a Lucky Strike cigarette. You know, it's like his little tradition for when he finishes a book. Well, the opening of the movie, you see Paul finishing his book, and then he's hitting the road, because he's done now. He's finished his book. Well, as he starts to drive, he drives through a fucking blizzard, a crazy blizzard, which you would never drive in the first place.
No, even in a Mustang.
Like a 65 Mustang, bro.
Through a snow blizzard, whatever the hell you are.
When he's going down this windy road, there is no road. It's just snow, bro. Like, I would have been... Like, so that'll bother you a little bit. Like the dad in you, like the man, like, what are you doing, bro? Like, he's flying. Like, he's doing like 40. Like there's no road. Like, what do you do? You're bound to die. Well, he didn't fucking die. He flipped his car, though. And as he flipped his car, we get some scenery of somebody saving him, but you don't really see who's saving him. Well, then the next scene, Paul opens his eyes. He's in a bed. He's all bandaged up. And then we have Kathy Bates. That's the first person we see. And she says, I'm your #1 fan. And he says, what? What? He's coming too? He doesn't realize what's going on. Well, he realizes that he was in an accident. And this lady, who is supposedly a nurse or an ex-nurse, she says, yeah, you had a really bad crash, Paul. You're here at my house. There's a blizzard going on. Phone lines are down, everything's down, you're pretty busted up, but I'm gonna take care of you until, we can get somebody to help you. And that Paul believed that story until days and days and days kept going by and no one showed up. There was no telephone, and he starts to see that this lady's a little bit fucking nutty. Well, she is nutty. This lady has kidnapped Paul and will not let him leave because she's a super fangirl and she's simping hard over Paul. She won't let him go. And Paul has to eventually battle this woman to get out of her custody, so to speak. And he is busted up like 2 broken legs. He is not in good shape. He is vulnerable. So that's what makes this movie so frightening. I think any language you speak, any gender you are, any age, this could be frightening. You're in a vulnerable situation. You can't move, dude. And like, I don't know. For example, if some big like ominous figure came at you, like, I'm gonna fucking kill you with an axe, you're gonna fight for your life or you're gonna die, whatever. This is like not sweet, but she's like a woman that's like trying to be nice, and you're like, man, this is strange. Like, you're not trying to come like kill this lady. To slowly realize that, hey, she means harm to me, is fucking terrifying. And I don't care who you are. I think this fear is widespread for anyone. There's a lot of great suspense in this. And Rob Reiner, he was known for being a giant fan of Alfred Hitchcock. He was even quoted saying like he was pissed off on the set and he messed something up and he says, "What do you think you are, Alfred Hitchcock?" Talking to himself. Like, big fan, but as we teach you here at the Sloppy Horror Podcast, there are many different styles of shooting, of directing. There's some people who are right in front of the gore, right in your face. And then you have people who are more stylized. You have people like Hitchcock who made that more apparent, more suspense. They want more suspense, the building. They want the building, versus the shock. So the, immediate right there. So they do a lot of foreboding, a lot of strings, or like a lot of music, and they build it up. Alfred Hitchcock's great at that. Brian De Palma's great at that. Dario Argento's great at that. A lot of style, less substance, but a lot of build-up, This is one of the, because I usually prefer the latter. I prefer when people, I like brutality. I like violence. And I'm totally okay with looking directly at it the whole time. And I like that. It doesn't have to be overkill, but I kind of like brutal films. Mm-hmm. But it's not to say that I don't like others. And I think Misery is such a great example of suspense building. Like, you could put this in captions and subtitles. If this was in another language, you could get what's going on. You'd be yo.
No, the suspense is great. And when you add suspense like this to just an interesting story, which Stephen King always does. I mean, it's a very interesting story.
Yeah.
It's not a very normal story that you're used to seeing like in your typical horror movies. It's a great, it's a great story, and you add that suspense in it and keeps you sucked in. You're like, what's going to happen next? Oh, that plan didn't work. Fucking here we go. She's getting more and more nutty. Now he's getting a little bit stronger, like it's about to go down. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's about to be a cripple fight. and it's going to be intense. You know what I mean?
And it's even scarier too, because like, not trying to be funny, but like, if like for the most part, if a man says he wants to kill you, you're expecting somebody to kick in your door, you're expecting somebody to shoot your place up. It's going to be a loud experience. I'm coming to fucking kill you. If a woman says she's going to kill you, I'm a little frightened. Not physically. I'm sure I can square up toe to toe. Not that there aren't girls out there that can whip some ass. I'm just saying, I feel confident in my strength. It's that whole crazy shit behind their eyeballs I'm nervous about. Like, bro, you got a nutty ass woman on your bad side? You fucked up, buddy. You fucked up. You better fix it. Like, there's parts of this movie where I'm contemplating, like, man, maybe you should just fuck her. Fuck her for the one time and just, like, smooth your way out the door. Like, hey, you know I'm going to be back because you're my favorite, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, he might have been able to work his way out alive and her alive. You know, I was contemplating it, like, you know, there's parts in that movie where it's like, hey, you might just have to take one for the team, bud. You might just have to blow her back out for one time. And then, you know, she might just, like, you know, because, like, afterwards, she's not mad anymore. She's, like, defeated. And you might have those moments to run. Well,
he can't run, but, you know, something.
Steal a car. Yeah, something.
He's got to get out the door first. You got to remember.
Yeah, but he can't use his legs.
He can't use his legs. But I love the realistic aspect in this movie that I've noticed. Because even when they do things that seem like impossible, like that would never work. For instance, one of my favorite parts to this is a mix of unrealistic to realistic at the same time. It's like a little sandwich. You put it together, it's fucking fantastic, right? It's when he finds the bobby pin on the floor. Now I know what you're thinking. He's going to pick a lock with a bobby pin. How many people do you know that actually were successful picking a lock with a bobby pin?
I think you could with that. I have.
I know you've tried it, but
I know
how hard
I have.
is it?
I have.
How hard is it?
They did make it seem extremely simple in the movie.
Yeah, but he's like, you know, he unlocks it and he's like, well, first he drops it first. You knew that was going to happen. And he's like, that was the most. I was like, how many times have you gone through that? So that's very realistic and relatable. But it's after he gets unlocked, he's like, I didn't think that actually fucking worked. But, you know, and then he goes. So it's stuff like that, you know. But he does things, it's kind of like back to like Blair Witch Project type of things, where like he's doing everything that he can think of to try and get out of there.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what I mean? He's trying his best to stay alive.
I always appreciate that, and it always sucks you in more, you know, because when something's unrealistic and over the top and dumb, like that would never fucking happen. Like this is a very believable story. This could definitely happen to somebody.
Yeah, dude.
You know what I mean? So
I bet you this has happened to people before.
I'm sure it has.
Dude, that's fucking freaky. And you know what? Most people aren't going to talk about this, Mark. Most people are not going to talk about this, but I'm going to tell it to you. Because Misery, Stephen King's movie, Rob Reiner, the whole metaphor for the movie of Misery is drugs. Stephen King had a large drug problem. I mean, obviously, that's well documented, which obviously he came out alive. So that, you know, yeah, that helps us out. And I'm happy that he's okay. It's a lot of times joked about now, because he's okay, which I'm happy for. But to think a writer, like, you know, in the midst of your career, to be able to make such a metaphor into a book. And he said, you know, drugs were my Annie Wilkes. They were my #1 fan, and they would never leave me alone. And it was like, damn, bro, like, now, it's definitely a fan film theory. If you've never seen Misery before, don't, like, watch it with the metaphor mindset. Just watch it normally. But if you've seen Misery dozens and dozens of times, like I have, rethink of the certain scenes and, you know, parts in the movie where you're like, God damn, bro, like, you ain't kidding. Like, that is a direct metaphor for drugs, and he just cannot break. And I thought that was kind of cool, man. Usually I'm not the one for film theory, you know, most of them are bullshit because the director or writer will be like, yeah, I didn't mean that. I didn't, but they'll put wild twists on it. Like, actually, he was speaking for Martin Luther King's bisexuality in this film. And I don't think he was. I don't think he was at all. I think he just made this for this. Like, but people really reach for that. But it's very cool when you can see a writer come out and say, yes, this was the metaphor. That was while I was making it. Because a lot of times musicians and people are real pretentious. Like, hey, man, why'd you write those lyrics? I don't know, man. I just felt them. Yeah, but it was talking about being in a dark place and saying, and here you say you're snorting lines off a mirror. What does this mean? It was a metaphor for the birds that migrate here from Europe every year. You're like, come on, bro, you're fucking lying. It's about drugs. So sometimes they try to sound artsy and, artsy or whatever. I just think that's cool that Stephen King just came out and point blank and said, yep, misery was my battle with drugs, and that's my metaphor. And you're like, cool, dude. Like, that's fucking sweet to, like, I don't know, to be that point. That, like, actually is art. He told you what he was making, and he fucking did it. Mm-hmm. And I think James Caan, he's he's an awesome actor. Loved him, in The Godfather, everything he does. But most people don't understand, he had to be in bed for 15 weeks to make this movie. 15 weeks, dude.
Dude, you probably get best. I hope that he stayed active between scenes or something. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's a long time.
4 months, damn near. Like,
dude,
just chilling.
If you sleep 10 to 12 hours past 30, tell me your body doesn't wake up like, oh. You know what I mean? But James Caan in this movie, he killed it. He cracked me up, too, because like we said at the beginning, I want to talk about this right now. He was cracking me up. I related to this man so much because it's like, just put it to where somebody is annoying talking to you. You got to be short with them. Like, one of the best lines was when she finally gets him out of the bed for the first time, puts him in the wheelchair. She's like, come over here. I got something to show you. He's like, great. I've always wanted to see the other side of the room.
He's got such sarcasm.
His sarcasm is great. I like when she's like, what's your theory of, I don't know, she's looking out the window or something. I forget what she says.
Ozone layer. She says
ozone layer, and I forget what he's like. Yeah, I don't know.
She said, the days aren't getting as cold. Some people say it has something to do with the ozone layer. What do you think about that? And he's like, I don't know. She's like, yeah, it's just a theory. I tell you what cracked me up too, because obviously we discussed Paul eventually gets out of this room and does a little exploring to find his whereabouts. He doesn't have enough strength to, get out of the house and fucking try to run. I mean, they're pretty much in the middle of nowhere. But he gets out, and she finds out that he gets out because he knocks this little ceramic penguin off the table and puts it back, and she notices it because she's psycho and neurotic like they all are. And she noticed that, and then she woke him up in the middle, She woke him up in the middle of the night and drugged him. And, when he woke up, he's kind of doped up and, drugged. It was one of the funniest parts because it was, anytime a woman confronts a man and he doesn't have the answers yet and he's kind of fucked up, she's like, I know you were out of your room, Paul. He went, what? No, I wasn't. No, I wasn't. He didn't want to lie too full. He's just, kind of huh? I don't know, you didn't. And he's got this big shit-eating grin on his face. Every dude's been in that, hey, did you take the trash out? I don't. He's, looking for the right answer. But he knows. He's not even trying to sell it. Every dude's been there where you're just holding back the smile, trying to be like, all right, I fucked up.
Yeah, I like when she calls him out on his lies. It's so funny. When she brings in the grill to him, and she's going to burn the book he just wrote.
His new book. And she's, just real quick, she's really obsessed with his line of books called Misery. There was a main character named Misery, very romance-like, and this new book is not a misery book, which she does not like.
I thought it was. I thought Misery dies at the end, and she didn't like that.
Well, that book had just come out in the stores, and she just finished reading it, so that's why she was so pissed.
Okay, I got it. All right, but anyway, he takes his new script and puts it on a grill, starts lighting it on, is dousing it, and he goes... Go ahead. He's like, my publisher always has hundreds of copies. It's about to go.
That's a lie we would have came up with.
Yeah, I know. It's like, go ahead. He's like, burn it. She's like, okay, Paul. I know you only keep one copy for superstition. I know you smoke a cigarette. I know you get all this stuff. I know you keep one copy. It's your thing. He's like, I'll tell you what.
He's going through it, dude. He's trying his hardest. The whole thing, he's like, and that's the whole thing. If you get pinned up, fellas, you get pinned up with a crazy woman and she starts interrogating you. Answer as least as possible. You wait for her to give you the answers. You wait for her to give you more information. And if you need to see perfect examples, watch James Caan in Misery. He'll perfectly tell you how to know when to lie and how to get out of it. Okay? He executes it perfectly sometimes. When he escaped the room, he escapes this room with the bobby pin. This motherfucker, like, gets out of his wheelchair. He's army crawling all over the place. Then he hears her car pulling up. One of the most suspenseful scenes, you know? So he's trying to rush back to the room and then lock the door again and get in there. And when she gets inside, she finds him in his room, and he's all fucking sweaty. Clearly, she was doing something, and he was going for the escape, you know? And she was like, Paul, your color is hectic. What have you been doing? What is going on? Blah, blah, blah. And he says, you know damn well what I've been doing. I've been suffering without my medicine. And he fucking crushed it, and she bought it. She bought it. He tricked her.
He killed it that day. What do you think I've been doing?
Like, yeah, man, I love that. Like, he just crushed it. It was an immediate lie, man.
Yeah.
It was just that quick, and he killed it. He really did. Now, you know what? I mean, there's obviously a lot of facts that we like to lay down in the what do you know, but I don't want this to be a what do you know fact, because this isn't necessarily, I would say it's more basic of a fact, but obviously this was a Stephen King novel. And there is a scene. Obviously, if you're unfamiliar with the movie, Paul escapes, and then after she finds him, she breaks his fucking ankles over a 2x4. She puts a big giant wood log between his ankles and hits his feet with sledgehammers, and they wrap around this thing.
I know it. I did. That's one of those things. It's that and the Achilles.
Ugh.
Every time that gets cut, it's bad. But when you see somebody put that
And it's like above
piece of
the
wood,
ankle. It's
piece
above
of wood,
the ankle.
yeah, and you just see it happen. Oh, I know it's fake, but that will make anybody in the world cringe. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you've seen. You see that sledgehammer go towards that ankle between two pieces of wood. Oh.
Ow. Well, in the book, it wasn't a sledgehammer. So inside the Book of Misery, Stephen King had that as an axe scene. He was going to cut her, have it cut his foot off. That's what Annie does in the book.
Yeah.
And they were going to stick with that. And everybody says, no, I think that's a little too graphic. But I think what they picked was more graphic. For some reason, I feel like a quick cut off with an axe, it seems cleaner to me. Like it's a clean cut. You're without a foot, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's like if you stop the bleeding, that's like a clean thing. But to bend, to break your legs at the ankle and have them bend over wood board, like, bro, that's worse than the axe, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That's worse. So
It
they
is.
try.
It is. It sucks too, because he just was almost got his feet healed.
Strength
He was
back.
almost there, and then she just comes in and just.
It's so bad.
It's so horrible.
And what's really fun, so two legendary actors here. You know, you got Kathy Bates, who comes from theater, and then you got James Caan, who came up in all the tough guy movies, you know, with Scorsese, and, you know, like kind of like well, not Scorsese, but more like The Godfather and more of like the gangster style pictures.
They work very well together on screen, for sure.
They do. And what happened was, Mark, was Kathy Bates was very much a person who was into reciting lines. She loves to practice. She wants a lot of practicing beforehand. Whereas James Caan is like, nope, I don't practice. We just go in and we fucking do it. I know my shit. I'm going to come in and I'm going to deliver. I don't want any readings beforehand. Well, that really bothered Kathy because Kathy had issues with, this is a violent character. And like she said that James said that Kathy was crying before that scene, like before the breaking, and before the giant fight scene at the end. Getting into character, but in the same light, like she literally like, dude, fuck, like this is intense. And she was to tears, and she like went to Rob Reiner, the director, like, James won't read his lines with me. And he's like, oh, well, maybe just leave James alone. And James like, I don't see what the fuck problem is. Like, get shit together, woman. And then he told her, he says, you know what? If he's pissing you off, use it in the scene. Mm-hmm. And I think that transpired. I mean, you can see the elevation because she is his number one fan, but as they say, don't meet your heroes. She starts to see his flaws, and she starts to get irritable with him, and starts to get mad at him, and you're like, dude, this is leading to something horrible. What's going to go down? And like, not trying to be funny, but like Kathy Bates isn't 5'2", 110 pounds. With broken legs, Kathy Bates is pretty fucking intimidating. You're like, dude, we better get the fuck up out of here, man.
Yeah.
She's gonna get me. So that's a lot of fun, man. That's kind of an interesting little fact. The fact that they didn't use an axe in the movie, but I think what they picked was more gorier than an axe. I feel like the axe would have been easier for my eyes to see, because I've never seen anything like that with the sledgehammers. That's a new one. That's a new one for me. I've never seen that in a movie.
No.
Like...
And it's one of the most infamous scenes in it, so that's how memorable it was to be created. So it's a great call. Great call.
I remember I watched this with my Aunt Brenda, who I'm really not close with at all now, but for the first time, I was like maybe 10 years old, but she was like, this is coming up, and this is going to be crazy. And I'm like, what's going on?
Well, it just comes out of nowhere, too. She just comes in.
It's not a violent movie for the most part. Like, so that part is uber violent. Like, that's a hostile level of violence in like a very rich character movie.
I know, dude. My God.
Ozark Mark.
That scene is intense. Tell me he wouldn't be in that same situation when he grabs a knife and he goes back to bed and he's sitting there, starts practicing, singing it out. Bitch comes in here, I'm a fuck her up. Nah. You know, he's like, nah, that's too fast. Right there.
Sit for you, lady.
I love it, man.
Look at all this knowledge we're spewing out,
There's
Mark.
a great amount of knowledge that is in your brain, Christian Ramey.
There is. But I don't know, Mark. I'm just thinking. It sounds like you know some stuff over there. I think you do. I think you know stuff. I think it's time to call our friends.
Yeah. Welcome to the What Do You Know here. This is a segment here where we're here to tell you something that you may or may not know about this movie here. So, if you know what we know, you're about to find out what we know. But if you don't know what we know, you're going to figure out what we know, and then you're going to have a we-know-gasm. But if you know what we know, you're going to know together. And then we're going to have a fucking...
Some more.
Yeah, some more. Like Smarties on Halloween, if that makes sense to you. But
some
anyways,
more what?
Some more.
There's some more, Smalls.
Yeah. So, this is fantastic. We got facts here for you.
We do. I enjoy this part of
I'm interested to know the things that you know. So, why don't you tell me something that you may or may not know about this movie, Misery?
So, as our friends were alluding to before, the actress, Kathy Bates, okay? Kathy Bates, this lady... She was having a hard time with all of this, you know, being a bad character, a person who was a killer, a person who had killed infants in her past.
Right.
So, she had a private little meeting with Rob Reiner, and she expressed her uncomfort. She says, look here, like, I just feel like this person's a piece of shit. How can we justify this at all? What can we do here? Can we make a little backstory? So there was an unwritten backstory for Annie Wilkes, and they said in order for her to feel comfortable to do this, she had to feel that Annie Wilkes was an abuse survivor herself and that she was abused by her father, and that way she felt she could portray the role accurately, not just as some like Patrick Bateman fucking killer, as somebody who was a monster who was molded. You know, not just somebody that was born that way. So in order for Kathy Bates to be able to film the movie Misery, she had to have a backstory for Annie Wilkes so she didn't feel like a piece of shit. So there's a nice little fact for you.
Wow.
You know, that's a nice fact. That's a nice fact.
That's an impressive fact. That is fantastic. Wow. What a fact here. I know something about this fucking movie here.
What do you know about this movie, Ozark? You got some facts here?
Yeah, I got some facts here. So, the infamous ankle scene, all right? You know what I mean? I think they talked about it earlier where she comes in and, like, you know, she puts the piece of wood between the ankles and then, you know, she hits the ankle and it goes BAM!
It just
breaks the fucking ankle, makes anybody cringe, you know what I'm saying?
It's not good. That's not fun.
No.
That's not fun. We're all busted to bits.
Yo, but I'll tell you this, you know how they did that there?
Oh, you know how they made it?
Yeah, you know how they made it?
How they do that?
They used prosthetic ankles.
Okay, prosthetic ankles, all right.
With wires in there and gelatin.
Jello.
To make it the realistic look, because you know what I'm saying, you put the fucking wires in there to make it turn a certain way, because when something breaks, you ever break something, you ever see something break in real life, it goes the way of the break. So, when she hits it, you didn't want it to just flab everywhere, so you had to put the wires in there to make it break accordingly, and it looks, now, hey.
It looks incredible.
It looks pretty fucking good. Now, does it not look exactly correct? Probably not, but that's a hard thing to do. But it looks pretty fucking realistic for the things they had to do there. So, bam. What do you know here? That's what I know.
I'm having a hard time breathing.
I can't even see anymore.
It's Zorro, and how do girls wear these shirts?
I don't know.
I would feel highly uncomfortable.
Well, it is very highly up on you. You know what I'm saying?
I know, yeah. Yeah, this is...
Yeah, it's so great. I hope I'm looking at you, but any more facts here?
I think that's it for this episode. I think that's enough for Misery. I think people got the backstory of Annie Wilkes, and now they know how that infamous ankle scene was done. That's a lot of facts.
That is a lot of facts. I mean, you can only have so many facts here for a factual film.
What can you do?
What are you going to do here? So next time, you sons of bitches, don't do that.
Ozark Mark. Now this is really... I know I think about some weird shit, but you think Annie Wilkes looked at his dick?
She would have to.
She would have had to.
She would have had to.
She would have had to look at his dick.
She is the #1 fan.
Do you think she touched it?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
I know women aren't really excited about penises like we are versus vagina and pussy or something, but I still like to touch it. Mm-hmm. They still like the feeling of it on their insides.
I think she likes it a lot because he hasn't given it to her, and they like things they can't have.
Yeah, that's the truth.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I can't have this? What do you mean?
That's the same thing. I'm sure nurses look at dudes' dicks. Not because, just be curious.
Yeah.
Just curiosity. It's not like they're into it, but they're
what
just
you working
curious.
with, fella?
I know. Let's see what this guy is working with. You know what I mean? It's just interesting.
You creepers.
I know.
Nasty ladies.
You know what I mean?
You fucking perverts. We're over here trying to pray and shit, and you guys are worried about dicks. Fucking whores.
You know one of my favorite characters in the movie Misery is?
Yeah.
Sheriff Buster, man.
Oh, how have we not talked about him yet?
Sheriff Buster cracks me up. I love how his deputy is his wife. I know. Because they're in such a small town, Paul's agent first calls because he hasn't shown up. And her agent calls, and it's sheriff. How you doing? I'm the sheriff, the deputy, the fucking... the first officer. I don't know all the things he said. He's like 20 things in this little town. But their banter, him and his wife's banter, are hilarious. When he first goes down that when they first go out, because he suspects Paul's missing, so he's trying to find out where he sees a tree, so he goes down the hill.
He's trying to find his car or whatever.
Yeah. So he goes down there and he falls. She's up in the you need help? No, I'm just enjoying myself down here.
Yeah, you remember when because because Paul Sheldon's a writer, so he's like, well, if I can't find him, I'm gonna read his books and see if I can get into his head, see what the hell's going on with him. Mm-hmm. We came back to work with all those books, and then she looked at him, she said, well, whoever she is, she sure likes to read. He says, Virginia, I really am flattered. You think I have any time in my day to deal with anyone else?
That's not what he says. He goes, Virginia, I'm flattered that you think I have that much energy.
Yeah, no shit. No shit, ladies.
Their banters, and it's sad that he eventually gets a shotgun to the back.
And he has the coolest coat on ever. I want that coat.
His mustache and beard combo is pretty fucking killer too.
The whole dude, yeah, this is a stellar guy. If you grew up to be this guy, no complaints in your life. Because his wife was cool too, honestly. Mm-hmm. I liked his wife.
Yeah, his wife was funny.
Yeah, man, they were cool people. But his persistence helped Paul, and he didn't save Paul, but I think he gave Paul the motivation, all right, motherfuckers are looking for me. You got to get out of here, dude. You got to get out of here. And honestly, it does, the movie eventually does come down to a finale where Paul gains his strength and he fights Annie. And he hits her with a typewriter and beats the shit out of her.
Well, it's a smart thing because, eventually, he's writing a book and then he's pressing the typewriter. That's a heavy-ass thing, dude. So, you know what I mean? At least he's getting his upper body strength back. Because, you know, think about it, you're fucking written in bed. You're going to lose all your strength. People don't think about that. Like, you got no chance to fight a
crazy lady.
A very brave-sized woman like Kathy Bates. So you got to get your strength up, dog. Okay? So he does that. And I don't care. I know it's supposed to be a suspenseful part in the movie, but just watching a grown woman fight a man in a wheelchair is hilarious.
Especially because she comes with like the Chucky scream, like yeah, like like when Chucky gets mad and he tries to attack you, he just starts to yell at you. Mm-hmm. And she does the same shit. Like for some reason, when people yell when they like charge and attack, it's just funnier to me. You'll maybe see that in a real life fight or whatever. Get the fuck off of me, dude! You're like, I don't know what's so funny about that to me when people just audibly lose their shit as well.
Yeah.
Like, did she just start yelling at him? And she looks so scary. Like, she really does.
Yeah.
And she's like, honestly, she really is such a great actress. And she's like a kind woman. Like, she's a super nice woman. And so for her to portray this, like, nutty, kooky, crazy girl, I mean, that just shows her fucking range, man. It really does.
Oh, yeah.
And even for James, man, for a guy like, all of his roles generally, like Sonny, he was the wiry brother who was always fucking fighting, and he was always up, and, you know, he's in his white beater, he's, like, flexing around. Just to lay in bed and to be able to convey that many emotions, because he really does. Like, his face says it all a lot of the times, where you're like, damn, bro.
Yeah.
Like, you're screwed, buddy, and you could just see it in his face. But he never quits. He never quits, and I do like that about him. I really do, man. You know, it's a good kind of
Even just like for a great example of his acting is when so the first time he got out, he discovered where all the pills were. Mm-hmm. Okay, so he took a handful of pills, those slights of pills, took it back to bed with him. And at first I'm like, why the fuck is he taking all these pills? You know what I mean? Because, you know, most people don't get it at first. I didn't. So he takes a piece of paper, he makes it into a little pouch, and then he starts emptying all the pills into the pouch.
Mm-hmm. Like all a little powder in it and shit? Yeah.
So I'm thinking, like, oh, he's going to try and make her overdose. That's a great way to get out of this. Okay. That's smart. Very smart thing. It can be very well, you know, done if you're in that situation. So he takes her to dinner, you know, playing like you said before, like, just give it to her once, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like, start getting on her good side, and he does.
Yeah, he told her, he said, let's have a dinner since this book's about done, and she got fucking the wettest she's ever been.
Oh, yes. Uh-huh. Yeah, she almost slipped on the way out. But, so he gets to the dinner, and, you know, he's, like, trying to find his opportunity to get the drugs into her wine. But then he's like, you got any candles? Like, that'd be romantic. And she gets all, you know, excited. So she slides out of her chair practically at this point and just finds candles. Brings a candle back. He successfully put the drugs into her drink. So at this point, as a horror fan, the movie's not over yet. So you know that he's not going to be successful in this. Mm-hmm. But she accidentally, I was like, I wonder, is she going to know? Is she going to tell? Like, how does she know? Because she seems smarter than she portrays, you know what I mean? So she knows all this shit. You're like, how's she going to do it? She just accidentally knocks it over. And the defeat, he shows defeat in his face, but not shows defeat in his face. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's still trying to keep a straight face, but he's just staring at her like,
you fucked up.
It's such great because you can know he's feeling defeated inside without showing that he's defeated inside, pretty much. Perfect. That's hard to do.
You know what?
That's hard to do, man.
And this is, you know, I have this weird category, and maybe people understand it, but, you know, Sunday movies, like a movie for Sunday, this movie feels like a book. There's many movies that feel like books, and this is like number one at the list for book movies for me. It feels like a book. It's paced like a book, and it's a comfortable movie. Obviously, there's frightening and terrifying like moments, but it's comforting. Like, I can honestly, if it's Sunday and I ain't got shit to do and I'm flipping through TV and I catch this movie, I most definitely will watch it all the way through. Because just like the book, most Stephen King books you can use as like a door stopper. They're huge, man. They're fucking humongous. Misery, if you're a reader, you can read that 2-3 days. It's an easy read, and the movie is easily digestible. You're not like It's not like, all right, well, here's this eater of souls. He's a clown. He can appear as everybody's fears. It's nothing like that. This is just pretty straightforward premise. So your brain is already on board immediately. And sometimes when you have a story that gets really complicated, you'll lose folks because they're like, all right, this is too much for me. This isn't that at all, man. This feels like a book. It's very comfortable. This is like sweatpants, some ugly socks, and some comfy food. Watch this fucking movie. I mean, because really, out of all the movies we discuss, we talk about some pretty brutal ones. I mean, this isn't a family movie by any means, but this is like, in my opinion, like not age group wise, but I'm saying just maybe as far as spectrum of people. It's E for everybody, no matter what genre you like. You could be into romance movies and like this. There's some, I tell you, if you're one of these ladies that thinks you're unique and quirky because you like true crime stuff like every other one, this will be you'll never believe this, but I like just true crime stuff. Oh, that's weird. No girl likes that. That's weird. I've never heard a girl say that before in my life. But this movie fits that so well. It really does, man, because you're trying to guess a little bit. Like, man, is he going to make it? Is he not? You assume he is, but what's he going to do? Is he going to kill her? Is he going to fuck her? Is she like, what's happening? Mm-hmm. Great stuff. And honestly, my older two kids have seen this. They like this movie.
It's a great movie, man. Mm-hmm. Great movie. What's your favorite part in the movie, Christian Raymond?
Let's see. So if I had to go down with my favorite part of the movie, I always say it's tough, and I know it is tough. It might be, I don't know, I think it's a great exchange when Buster finally does show up and he gets shot, because that's like one moment in the movie where you really do, because like you said, it's kind of early on when like midway through the movie when he's getting the pills and he's doing that, when he's escaping. But by the time Buster shows up, you really think this guy's about to fucking save him. And then Kathy Bates just blows him out with a shotgun with a buckshot through his chest. And Paul sees him, because Paul's at the bottom of these stairs, and he sees him just get shot. And then, like, at that moment, you're like, uh-oh. I don't know what old boy is going to do now, because Buster seems like a John Wayne-style character. And I think that did a lot for that movie, because it takes somebody that, A, you like. Personally, you like him. He's a nice guy. But B, you like, he's a man's man, and you're like, oh, he's going to save him. And after that, I think that's just such a frightening part and such a suspenseful scene, because he goes into her house, and he's like, hello, Mrs. Wilkes. I just want to see what's going on, take a tour of the place. And she's like offering him hot chocolate, and they both know. They are both pretending. And it's like just such an intense scene, and it just keeps building, and you know something's about to happen. And I didn't expect her to shoot his ass like the first time I saw it. I didn't expect that. I thought she might have tried to syringe him or like, shot him, bro. Like, ba-pow, good night, lights out. So I'd say that would be my favorite. Ozark Mark, is there a favorite part for you that you think is great in this movie?
Yeah, we talked about it. I like the part where he first escapes the room. There's a lot of, that's when it really gets your attention, because in the movie all you're seeing is this one room the entire time.
Yeah.
So when he gets it out, it's like, oh my God, what kind of house this bitch got? Like, and it's just suspenseful.
He finds out she's bad too.
Finds out he's bad. He does the little penguin save, which is a great catch, by the way. Such a great catch that he got that. He got the pills in there and everything. So I really like that whole sequence of him locking it back. Mm-hmm. And all that, and him finding her. It's like, what do you think I've been doing? Just the whole thing is awesome. But there is one thing that I also made me fucking laugh hysterically, is when it's during the final fight scene. This is after he burnt the book, and they're fighting, and he just shoves her face into the burnt pages. Eat it, you bitch!
Not only is this movie a metaphor about drugs, Misery, this movie is a metaphor for masturbating once your wife leaves the house, okay? Because you have a small amount of time, and that's what this whole movie's about, and you don't want to get caught because she's going to be upset, and you don't want to appear sweaty, or, so, like, you got to have, like, the perfect amount of time where you can regenerate enough fluids where she won't find out. You got to be in the right perfect, so that's the crux of this whole movie.
And the penguin is just you forgetting to like delete your history or something.
Yeah,
or,
you
know
left
what
the
I mean?
nut
Like,
rag laying out. She's gonna find it, bro. She's gonna find it, and then you're in some shit, and then he's a man. He doesn't care. He's not like embarrassed, but he's like, nah, dude. I didn't. Like, what do you mean?
I don't know why the sheets are sticking together right there. I don't fucking know.
I don't know. Yeah, that was an intense scene, though, man, because you're like, get fucking back in there, bro.
No.
He's like trying to lock it, and you're like, oh my god. Like,
she drops the paper like twice or something. You know what I mean? Just ridiculous.
It just added up to it, man. It really did.
Yeah, what a great movie Christian Raimi this is. I'm curious to see how it ranks on the horror movie scale, though.
Yeah, baby.
Sloppy horror rating, baby, yeah! Yeah. Yeah. It's the Sloppy Horror Podcast rating. Now, this is a very special kind of rating because we don't rate the movie as a movie. We rate it as a horror movie on 3 scales plus a bonus scale. And that is 3 categories. 3 of the categories were 3 points. Last category is worth 1 point for a total of
10 points altogether.
Yep, 10 points altogether on the scale. So if this is your first time here, hello to you. Welcome to it. You're about to figure out how this horror movie rates on the horror scale by the horror nerd, your scary movie companion, Christian Raimi, everybody's favorite asshole.
That's right.
That's right. So, without further ado here, let's go into the first category here in the Sloppy Horror Podcast rating, and that is casting.
So, Ozark, Mark, you mentioned Blair Witch Project once before in this episode, and I find that very strange because I was going to tie that in a little with casting. Occasionally, some movies you have a casting of 30, 40 people. It's a large movie. It's a large production. I think the numbers get stronger for the less amount of people. It doesn't even, look at the Blair Witch Project with Heather Donahue and all those guys, Michael Williams and Joshua Leonard. Sorry, my brain had to do that. There's only 3 of them there. They're not well-known actors or anything like that, but the connection between them, I feel like we gave that a 3 in casting. And I do feel strong with the casting in this movie because, seriously, it's like 2 people the whole fucking movie. There are other people that are littered in here. But if these 2 don't work, the movie doesn't work. If one of them doesn't work, the whole movie doesn't work. So I really do feel confident in giving this a 3. They both really did their homework with the novel and really just trying their hardest to portray. And what I don't want to say a love story, but a Hannibal Lecter and a Clarice situation. There's just I don't know, man. It's such a bond. I saw these 2 had a photo shoot together, I don't know, within the last few years. It was like a little Misery reunion photo thing that they did. And it literally warmed my heart because they're old people with white hair and shit. And they still looked good together, man. They still just you're like, good for them, man. It warmed my fucking heart. So I feel confident with 3 on this because these are top tier. This isn't horror actors. These are top tier regular Oscar-winning actors.
Yes, they are quite the gruesome twosome there.
I like
Fantastic.
that. Yeah.
Yep. So it's 3 out of 10 so far after one category. Going to the second category here in the Sloppy Horror Podcast rating, and that is kills.
So kills, this is something we do not have really pretty much any of aside from Sheriff Buster getting blasted with a shotgun. Now, granted, this scene was very intense and very fun, but I feel we can only fairly maybe give this a half a point.
It's only a half a point because it's just 1 kill.
And it wasn't a gruesome, it was a shotgun, but it wasn't like a death by knife or...
No, I mean, it's the basic as you can get. You know, it gets the point across, but that's about it. There's nothing fantastic about it. I mean, you could probably maybe give it a 1, just the effect on it. In this, but I don't think so. I think you go with half a point there.
Yeah, I feel confident with a half a point. I really do. But that's, to no other limitation. That doesn't mean it's a bad movie, just mean it doesn't have many kills. And if we're talking about horror films, what do you fear most in your life? Your own death. And if we are not fearing our own mortality, it really does contribute to the rating of our movie. So...
Exactly. So 0.5 there. So that's 3.5 after 2 categories. Let's go on to the third and final category here on the Sloppy Horror Podcast rating, and that is fear.
Mark, I really want your help with this one in the sense that because in my heart of hearts, I feel a 3. I really do because it's an actuality. There's no ghosts. There's no Frankenstein. There's no pop scares. This is something that legit could happen to you. And your legs are busted, so everyone is put in the same predicament. We're not saying like, hey, man, you're a woman. Are you afraid in a parking garage? Or like, no, this is... We're talking about someone being locked down that's injured. And I think everyone can experience that. So for me personally, from the music, from the climactic scenes of like building up of him, like you say, on the run, looking for shit, trying to catch the penguin, seeing she's a killer, trying to get the knife, trying to get the medicine, trying to dump the medicine. Like each scene is like, you're just kind of, it's unsettling each time because you see he's trying to do something each time. So like, you get sucked into the movie because it is fearful, because it is fucking uncomfortable. And you're like, dude, what's old boy gonna do? How's he gonna get out of this situation? Now, is it terrifying in the sense of, like I said, monsters and gore? Not at all, man. But this is 100% an actual factual thing that could happen to a human being today. Today. If you wrecked your car and you were stuck in the snow, someone could scoop you out and put you wherever the fuck they wanted to and do whatever they wanted to you. Yeah. That's a little terrifying, man. And then, like, it's even more terrifying because it's not like, oh, I woke up in Leatherface's house, so I know I have to leave. It's fucked because he was comforted at first. And then it's like you get some Stockholm Syndrome thing going. There's, like, all kinds of layers to it, like, you know? And it's a lady. It's not like some dude where you're like, fuck you, bro, let's fight. Like, it's not that at all. You're like... what do I do? So
yeah, man, it's I agree with that. It's the realisticness about it, the fact that it can actually happen to you, always puts it up there. And if anything can actually happen to you, it's always going to be up there on fear, because that's where fear comes from. That's something that can actually fucking happen to you.
It's like kills are so low, but I feel like that definitely is made up for fear, because even Buster's scene was more climactic than it was like gory and death wise. Like, I mean, you're like,
Yeah.
Oh no, like that part, seeing her behind him is scarier than actually seeing him die. It's like oh my God, we finally made it to this moment. So in my heart of hearts, I'm thinking 3 on fear. I really am. I mean, I'm a grown man. I don't get scared of a lot, but like...
No, I'll agree with that. I think that's a very logical way to look at it, and I think that makes the most sense. So that's 3 there. So that is 6.5 out of 10. We're going on to the final 1-point category here, and that's do we fuck with this movie for half a point each. Christian Ramey, do you fuck with Misery 1990, sorry.
Absolutely, sir.
Absolutely.
What about you, Ozark?
Yeah, I'll fuck with it too. It's a great movie. How can you not like this movie?
It's just got a lot of stuff there, man.
It's a great story, and it's told well, it's shot well, acted well, perfect. It's a great movie.
And the book is really good too. I mean, not to be that guy, because a lot of people are like, oh, well, have you read the book? I'm not that way with a lot of things except for scary movies, and I'm not gonna lie to you. If you want to get into Stephen King books, don't start with it unless you're a lengthy reader. I mean, like, it is a long fucking book. Misery, man, you're looking for a nice little book to get through, or maybe you're trying to like, hey, I want to start to read more. Start there, dude. I'm telling you, because it like, you're not dealing with many characters. You're not dealing with many like, sometimes fictional books get really weird. Like if you're reading like a Harry Potter, you're like, what the fuck is Quidditch? Like, I don't know what that means. Like, and my brain can't wrap around that too many proper nouns. This isn't the case at all. It's a very easy, simple book, and regardless of the interpretation, I like it. Ozark, Mark, this was maybe 2 years ago, because I'd say 5-6 years ago, Misery was turned into a Broadway play adaptation. And I didn't know it then, but we have something here in Cincinnati. It's like Playhouse in the Park. It's a similar thing where they do those. And I don't like to go a lot, but sometimes, you take the kids to A Christmas Story or something like that. I like that kind of stuff. I'm not going to lie. But they had one for Misery in October. And I took, the fiance out there. We went there and we watched it. And it was one of the coolest things I had ever seen, because it was only these two on stage, but they were like switching sets and things. Oh, it was incredible. We left there, And there's a bar here in Cincinnati. Well, it's up in Pleasant Ridge. It's called the Overlook Lodge, and it's like based like the bar from the Shining, and so it was like kind of like a Stephen King night, and it was kind of fun. So I definitely enjoyed that, and that was a lot of fun. So if you guys ever see the adaptation for the Broadway of Misery, highly recommend that too. When you said good story, I agree with you, man. Via book, movie, Broadway play, this is a neat story.
Yeah.
And I think everybody can get down with this, man. And it's a cold movie, deals with the snow. I don't know. Is anybody else like that? When it's cold out, like literally, last week when it fucking snowed, Mark, real bad, or not real bad, but when it snowed that one day where like we were just inside, I watched Storm of the Century the whole day. That's what I enjoy to do, man. When the weather's cold or The Shining, you throw something on like that. It's just, you're in the right mind, man. Mm-hmm. And maybe that makes me weird, but I'm very seasonal with movies. It's like not just Christmas. Like I need this, like I want to stick with we did Return of the Living Dead on 4th of July weekend. That was our 4th of July. That's what I watched.
I think that adds to the joy of the movie, is watching it at the right time when it fits.
Yeah, I think so too, man. I think so too. So I'm really happy that we were able to do Misery, get this fucker under our belt, because what a large conversation piece. And what's great about it, hey, did you hear about Misery 2 and 3 and the adaptation and the sequel? No, bro. It's just a standalone, amazing story fucking horror movie that hasn't had its coattails rode into this new generation of repackaging nostalgia and shoving it down our throat. If they try to remake Misery, I will burn down the set personally.
No, don't do that.
They're doing Lost Boys right now as we fucking speak, dude. I know. Frustrates me too. It bothers me and it pisses me off, but luckily I know that one will flop.
Well, hopefully, you can teach the kids to watch the good movies. So
yeah,
we need to actually figure that out. You know what I mean?
And for all you young film directors, horror people, look at a movie like this, like Misery. Nothing too complicated, nothing too crazy, but granted, any people you talk to, most of them are giant, like they love this movie. It's easy to do films like this, folks. It's not a hard recipe to make a horror movie. It's like a soup. You guys are trying to overcomplicate it, or trying to give us a mock-up of the same soup we've eaten when we were younger. We want some new stuff, folks. Somebody give me a new Misery. Not the actual Misery, but something along those lines. I like this kind of horror. I like this. This is fun.
Yeah.
Because I don't care what anybody says. This is a horror movie, and you can put it in there. It's Stephen King, ankle breaking. There's crazy shit in this. It's scary. So, I feel very confident and comfortable about that. But folks, next week is going to be the season finale of this season of the rehab season. Correct, Ozark?
Yeah.
We crushed through Poltergeist, we crushed through Misery. Now we've got one more. Maybe I have mentioned the title of the movie 3 minutes ago. So that is your little warm up there. So
that's your hint.
Yeah, that's your hint.
Rewind it 3 minutes.
that's your little. But like I said, I like to stick with the cold, and I didn't mean to finish on a banger finale with Stephen King, but I don't mind it at all. Now Ozark, I feel confident that we're gonna jump into the season of sequels next season, but I don't think there's going to be a long break for you folks. We're going to bounce back pretty quick. And the beautiful part about the season of sequels is we've covered a lot of the first films of a lot of these franchises, be it Elm Street, Halloween, whatever. But we did a lot of those early on. And we would like to have a more current episode, or structured episode on some of these Freddy movies, Jason movies, Michael movies, and even outside of our main guys. I'm just saying, there's so many great sequels out there, so now we can finally get into it. And it doesn't just have to be number 2. Like, this isn't just like the second one. It doesn't matter if it's the 4th one, 5th one, 6th one. We'll be here, and you guys should be excited for that. And that's what we're going to do, folks. We're here to educate the people on these horror movies that made an impact. And we're not going to have many new ones until people start creating shit like this. But yeah, I'm happy that you guys joined us, and if you made it this far, please don't forget to like and subscribe if you're watching, wherever you're at, YouTube, Spotify, whatever. Like it, comment, do whatever. Honestly, the fact that you made it this far in the episode means the world to Ozark and I. We don't really give a shit about these platforms or how they engage, but they do. They like it when you comment and you like and you share, do whatever. So
it's the way of the world, man. We're old school, going around handing out flyers and throwing CDs at you and stuff like that. But,
right.
you know, we can't do that anymore because nobody does that. Now this is what you got to do. You got to make people press buttons in a certain fucking order in a certain way to get them to fucking spread your shit.
Yeah.
So, you know. But we got a lot of stuff to offer to the people here, so we got to spread the word, you know.
It's the most entertaining and educational horror podcast you have out
dude,
there.
It's not like, you know, you go out to pee in the snow. You want to make scribbles and stuff. You got to spread around.
Yeah.
You don't want to just make a hole. That's stupid.
Yeah, don't want to make a hole. You want to make some artwork, folks, and that's what we're going to provide with you, and it's for free. For free every week. This is an hour of knowledge, and what you do with it, I don't care. Shove it in your ass. I don't care, but it's for you.
It's like a library book that you never checked out.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. For free.
Yeah.
So, folks, I feel pretty confident we've delivered a good hour for you for some misery, man. I feel confident. I feel confident
about that. It
would
definitely not an hour of misery for your brain. That's for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Like what I did there, I just did a little. That was a good one.
I see what
that
you
was
did.
a good.
There.
That was just straight off the top too.
Mm-hmm.
You can't take us anywhere, man. You know, you're wild and wacky.
You'll never believe this. You'll never believe this. But I watch a lot of like true crime stuff. I know. How am I supposed to sleep when it's about murder and stuff? I know. I'm quirky. I'm in. All right. Okay. Have you ever seen Scream? It's really spooky.
Shut up.
All right. It's really good. It's like spooky. We used to ghost hunt.
God, I hate the internet.
I do too.
I hate the internet, man.
All right, boys and girls. Well, you guys have a great week. We hope we started it off the right way for you. And until next week, you guys stay out of trouble and be sure you're checking out all the old content if you haven't already. Be sure to follow us on all platforms. Helps us out a bunch.
It helps us out a bunch.
For real. If you are listening to this on Spotify or anywhere that isn't YouTube, please go subscribe to our YouTube channel, bro.
Subscribe.
Yeah.
Give us stars. Comments. I don't care if you make a big dick. I don't care if you make a nice smiley face. I don't care if you just put dots. I don't care if you put your grandma's candy apple recipe on there. I don't care.
That's actually pretty dope.
That is pretty cool. What if people just started posting
recipes? Only post recipes in our comments. This isn't a cooking show. Why is there recipes? YouTube's thinking there's some kind of glitch.
That'd be hilarious. Please fill them comments up with just weird shit. That'd be so hilarious.
It's a recipe for shepherd's pie.
Dude, that would be so fun, man. Just go comment random things on random people's because. Never mind. But yeah, do that. But okay, boys and girls, we're gonna fucking go now. So I love you.
Thank you guys. We love you.